Good morning.
Good morning.
Good morning. Good morning, everybody. Hello. Okay. As we settle into this space, we will be listening to the music of Story Strings. Thank you. That was lovely. Well, good morning again, and welcome. My name is Cheryl Lawson, and I serve on your fellowship board of directors. I want to thank everyone for being here today and extend a special welcome to any visitors we may have. If you would like more information about the fellowship, please visit the welcome table in the fireside room or sign our virtual guest book at uufames.org guest book. Whether joining us from home or here in the fellowship hall, we invite you to stay over after the service for coffee and fellowship, where you can introduce yourself and join in conversation with kindred spirits. Have a couple of announcements here. At this year's annual meeting, we will be taking a look at how we do membership, specifically with new membership policy and some bylaw updates. The task force held a question and answer session yesterday, and there is another one this Wednesday, November 6th at 7 p.m. See the latest weekly email for more specifics and plan on bringing your questions. And another announcement is the Fellowship Voices rehearsals are back now with our music coordinator, Madison, at the helm. If you love to sing, be sure to check it out immediately following Sunday service every week. It's okay to grab a cup of coffee first. This week's and next week's rehearsals are upstairs in the Channing Barton room. And starting on November 17th, they'll begin practicing right here in Fellowship Hall. And let's see. On behalf of this caring and nurturing congregation, I welcome each and every one of you to this sacred space. Here we invite you to an experience of transformation, hope, renewal, and connection, which may inspire you to understand life in new ways. Thank you for joining us today.
These are the words of Kathleen McTeague. You who are brokenhearted, who woke today with the winds of despair whistling through your mind, come in. You who are brave but wounded, limping through life and hurting with every step, come in. You who are fearful, who live in the shadows, hovering over your shoulders, come in. This place is sanctuary, and it is for you. You who are filled with happiness, whose abundance overflows, come in. You who walk through your world with lightness and grace, who awoke this morning with strength and hope, you who have everything to give, come in. This place is your calling, a riverbank to channel the sweet waters of your life, the place where you are called by the world's need. Here we offer in love. Here we receive in gratitude. Here we make a circle from the great gifts of breath, attention, and purpose. Come in and let us gather in fellowship by lighting this chalice. Fire of our faith, fire our future. Now, please rise in body or spirit to sing hymn number 396, I Know This Rose Will Open. We will sing it once through all together, and then split into 3 parts as a round. So we're gonna have this-ish side, and the middle-ish side following me, and that-ish side following Kelly. And we will sing it through once all together, 3 times in our round.
To prepare for our Time for All Ages, I want to take a moment to offer some gratitude for the people who volunteer for and manage our religious education program. Our staff lead, Dana Poss, our religious educator, and all of the volunteers who do all of the things for religious education. We've been doing some gratitude at the end of the service, but you guys are out of here by then. So we want to say big gratitude for all who work with our children and youth in religious education. Thank you.
So I have a wonderful story for you guys today. It's called You've Got Dragons, It's by Catherine Cave, and these beautiful illustrations are by Nick Malond. Dragons show up when you least expect them. You turn around, and there they are. Oops. Oh. Sounded good. Am I dreaming, you wonder? And you pinch yourself hard, but you're not. Your heart thuds and your knees wobble and your hands shake and your head whirls and you feel hot and cold and you can't breathe and your stomach hurts and you can't believe it's really happening to you. You've got dragons. You've never had dragons before. You're not sure what to do. You say to yourself, why me? Why am I the one to get dragons? Was it something I did? I've been bad sometimes, but not that bad. And mostly I'm good. I've never been bad enough to deserve this. And you're right. Nobody deserves dragons. You certainly don't. You didn't get them because you were bad. All of these people have dragons, and they're really, really good. Dragons are scary. So you try to pretend yours isn't there, but it is. Pretending a dragon isn't there is very hard work. You keep checking to see if it's still there. You have to check in all sorts of places. Sometimes you think it really isn't there, but it is. Pretending a huge, great, enormous dragon isn't there is exhausting. So sooner or later you stop pretending. Then you say, okay, it's there, but it isn't a dragon. It's a mouse. Who's afraid of a mouse? But that's some mouse. Look at its shadow. That mouse looks just like a dragon. Deep down, you know it's a dragon. You're still scared. Once you've got dragons, you can't get away from them. They pop up all the time. When you wake up, when you brush your teeth, when you go to school, when you eat lunch, when you walk home, when you play games, when you turn on the television, when you go to bed, when you turn off the light, especially when you turn off the light. So sometimes you leave it on. You don't want to think about dragons, but you do all the time. How do you spell cat? D-R-A-G-O-N. Big, bigger, dragon-sized. Who are you? A dragon. 2 + 2, 4 dragons. 2 × 6, 12 dragons. You make silly mistakes because of dragons. What's this? A dragon? You're worried that people won't understand. If you tried to explain, they might think you were weird, so you don't say anything. Dragons make everything complicated. Sometimes people try to talk to you about them when you don't want to talk. So, how's the old dragon today, Or sometimes when you do want to talk, they're too busy, or they don't want to listen, or they don't understand, or they want to do all the talking. Let me tell you about my dragon. Sometimes you feel like you're burning up inside. You want to shout at the dragon, go away. You'd like to stomp on it and kill it, but you'd need very big shoes. It seems so much bigger than you. Sometimes you get cold and shivery and you don't want to be alone. Can I have another hug? When you've got dragons, you need lots of hugs. Soon you are the world's greatest expert on having dragons. By popular demand, Ben's advice column. Dear Ben, I want to run away from my dragon. What kind of training should I do? I am 6 years old. Do I need special shoes? If so, please tell me where I can get the pink ones. Sincerely, Sophie. Dear Sophie, special shoes and training won't help. Take it from me. Dragons are way too fast to run away from. Yours, Ben. Dear Ben, I've been trying to hide from my dragons for 43 years, 8 months, and 4 days. Can you recommend a foolproof hiding place? Hopefully, Dad. Dear Dad, try under the stairs. It's more comfortable than under the bed. I've always wondered what you were doing there. Your loving son, Ben. P.S. Say hi to your dragons. When they find you, they will. Dear Ben, I got dragons last month when we moved to our new house. Now my tummy hurts every morning. Is this normal? also have purple spots on my tongue. What do you suggest I do? Anxiously, Dave. Dear Dave, in answer to your letter, 1, yes. 2, stop chewing on your markers. It makes your teeth purple too. Your friend, Ben. Ben's top tips for what to do when you've got dragons. 1, give your full attention to the dragon at least once a day. Dragons get bigger when they're ignored. Greetings, honorable dragon. Greetings, honorable Ben. 2, really get to know your dragon. Give it a name. What sort of dragon is it? Look at it hard, then draw a picture of it. This is Montgomery, my math test dragon. He is dark red with orange claws and small green spots on his chest. 3, if you make your dragon laugh, it might get smaller. Try telling it jokes. 4, talk with someone else about your dragon, and remember to get plenty of hugs. Ask for one right now. This is Montgomery, eating my math teacher. You won't have dragons forever. You think you will, but you won't. You ignore your dragons and you run away from them and you hide from them and you pretend they're not there and you shout at them and you don't want to turn out the light and you pay attention to them and you tell them jokes and you can't think of anything else and then suddenly, something feels different. Dragons leave when you least expect them to. You wake up and they're gone. Yours is. It really is. After all your hard work, your dragon is gone. Congratulations. Great job. Yay! And now you know what to do next time you get a dragon. And we'll close with some dragon wisdom. On your way through the world, keep your eyes wide open. Dragons come in all shapes and sizes. They don't all look the same. They don't all look like dragons. They don't all mean us harm. Honor the dragons that you meet and learn from them. They are not as powerful as you think. No dragon is more powerful than you. And here ends our story. If we could sing our young ones to class.
Thank you, David. Yes. Dragons, we've got them. We will now give and receive our offering this morning, and please know that half of our non-pledge offering will be donated to the Iowa Wildlife Center, as selected by our religious education students in K through 8. Every year, thousands of birds and other animals in our state are orphaned, injured, sickened, or displaced, often due to human activity that takes its toll. Windows, vehicles, cats, toxins, power lines, habitat clearing, and increasingly dangerous storms due to the climate crisis. The Iowa Wildlife Center provides medical and rehabilitation care and wildlife assistance skills training, and they teach about wildlife and habitat stewardship. The other half of our offering supports our programs here at the Fellowship that make this a community of inspiration, transformation, and belonging. We'll pass the basket here in Fellowship Hall, but for those of you who are joining us from home or are here with a cell phone, you can go to uufames.org/give to make your contribution today. And if you're visiting, please know that your presence here with us is gift enough. Thank you. Each week when we gather, we take a few moments to be still and quiet, to recognize that our lives are connected one to another, to share our joys so that they may be multiplied, to share our sorrows so that we can hold them together. A minister that I know says, sometimes you are the ocean, sometimes you are held up by the ocean. This is the moment when we're together and find buoyancy in community, when it feels very hard to do so. Today we have a joy to share. Bob Anders reports that his first follow-up after prostate cancer radiation treatment was no cancer. I said to Bob before the service today, we need all the joys to celebrate that we can. So thank you for allowing us to celebrate with you. There's a great deal of pain in the world in all kinds of ways. So many dragons. So many dragons. Part of what we do is open our hearts to practice the muscle of opening and caring for all the world, for the need and pain of the world, while we also have good boundaries so that the pain of the world doesn't swamp us. That's a practice, and it takes muscle. That's what we do here together. People who are hurting in lands afar and ours. People who are so anxious today, including us. People who are joyful. People who are just tired. Let our hearts be open for all of them. In this silence that we create together, I invite you to lift up names of those you are particularly holding close this morning. Reagan, Roan, and their children. Peter, Nolan, Carl, Jess, For all of the names spoken and unspoken, we make space. Today at 11:15, we have our service of silent witness. We'll be downstairs in room 3. If you have something particular that you would like to name in community and have it be heard, please join us for this monthly ritual. Let's sing together.
Sing
of History and Hope by Miller Williams. We have memorialized America, how it was born and who we have been and where. In ceremonies and in silence, we say the words, telling the stories, singing the old songs. We like the places they take us. Mostly we do. The great and all the anonymous dead are there. We know the sound of all the sounds we brought. The rich taste of it is on our tongues. But where are we going to be, and why, and who? The disenfranchised dead want us to know. We mean to be the people we meant to be, to keep on going where we meant to go. But how do we fashion the future? Who can say how except in the minds of those who will call it now? The children. The children. And how does our garden grow? With waving hands, oh, rarely in a row, and flowering faces, and brambles that we can no longer allow? Who were the many people coming together who cannot become one people falling apart? Who dreamed for every child an even chance, cannot let luck alone turn doorknobs or not? Whose law was never so much of the hand as the head, cannot let chaos make its way to the heart, who have seen learning struggle from teacher to child, cannot let ignorance spread itself like rot. We know what we have done, and what we have said, and how we have grown, degree by slow degree, believing ourselves toward all we have tried to become, just and compassionate, equal, able, and free. All this in the hands of children, eyes already set on a land we never can visit. It isn't there yet, but looking through their eyes, we can see what our long gift to them may become. If we can truly remember, they will not forget.
To decide in the
How you sleeping these days? How's the tension in your neck, your back, your shoulders? Anybody need to do a little shoulder roll right now? Come on. Good breath in and out. Are you drinking enough water? I didn't think about this as a prop, but really. Staying hydrated? How's your consumption of the news? Do you need to turn it off? Yes. Turn it off. Good, good. Have you voted? Yes. Wow, that's awesome. Have you door knocked, made phone calls, donated, attended a rally or event, signed postcards and letters? Yes. Been nice to the pollsters who called you? Have you defaced any signs in your neighborhood? No, we don't do that. To be human is to live with hope and fear, to navigate the emotional and physical swings of survival and resilience. And don't the ad makers know it? Boy, don't they know it. Fear, hope, fear, hope. Both sides, both sides. Would that it were only once to every soul and nation comes the moment to decide. But every 4 years we go through this, actually every 2 years we go through it, but it gets, I don't know, worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. And there's this toxicity in the air. And as I talked about building a muscle for keeping our hearts open, I think we also need to build the muscle of boundary so that we can be open enough and also not flooded, not allow ourselves to be flooded with the toxicity of how democracy has devolved in our country that many of us love so much. To be able to say that we have a sense of patriotism. That was once something that was not said out loud much in a Unitarian Universalist fellowship. And sometimes I wonder about saying it myself, a sense of patriotism. But I do have it. I do have it. And that's what helps me know that no matter what happens on Tuesday, my place is here in this country. We'll talk about that next week. Whatever we know or don't know, the result will be the same, that we are in it together. I want to talk a little bit today, as we're just a few days past All Souls Day and the time of remembrance of ancestors, in this moment that we look toward the future. And I've said that we are not the first nor the last generation that will face a civic crisis. And what is it that we can learn from our ancestors, and what may our descendants learn from us, and how can we imagine the future through their eyes? And always, when I'm thinking about things like this, I want to start with science. So I want to think a little bit about how did we develop this access to this hyper sense of fear and alertness to danger. And also, what does hope do for us in terms of building resilience? And for this part, I want to talk a bit from the book Buddha's Brain, The Practical Neuroscience of Happiness, Love, and Wisdom by Rick Hanson and Richard Mendius. And as I often do, I'll put these in my newsletter next week, these book titles, so that you'll have them. Hanson and Mendius talk about the 3 fundamental functions of the human brain: regulation, learning, and selection. Regulation, learning, and selection. The 3 functions of the human brain. And they operate at all of the levels of the nervous system, from the intricate molecular dance at the tip of a synapse to the whole brain integration, or actually the whole nervous system integration of control, competence, and discernment. So we are regulating all the time. Drink enough water so you stay hydrated. That's one way of regulating our nervous system and other systems in our body. Actually avoiding danger, knowing where are safe places to be. You were regulating on your drive here today. For you folks online, maybe staying at home is a way to regulate your nervous system if it's not safe for you to be out in the world. We're regulating all the time. Learning. We take in new information at every turn. There's all kinds of stimulus around us all the time. We're taking in information. And selection. We select what we will do with that information, right? You had choices of, you opened the closet this morning, perhaps, you learned what was clean and not clean, and then you selected. We hope you chose well. Folks online, you don't have to have made that choice yet today. That's okay. These relate to three fundamental strategies for survival. Creating separations between self and the world, and between one mental state and another. Ben and I are friends. We're up here on the chancel doing our thing, but we are separate in what we do. We create separations. That's his role, this is my role. Maintaining stability. We keep our physical and mental systems in a healthy balance. We maintain stability. And we approach opportunities and avoid threats to gain things that, in an evolutionary sense, promote offspring and escape or resist things that don't. Right? One of the ways that we select is to approach opportunity and resist threats. But nature doesn't care how we feel. This is what Hansen and Mendius say. Nature doesn't care how we feel. Doesn't care so much about our emotions. To motivate, right? Nature, let me say it this way. A patch of ice or a clear sidewalk has no value in nature. It has a value to you, but nature doesn't put a value on that, right? It doesn't care how we feel about approaching a slick spot in the sidewalk. We have to develop that, right? To motivate animals, including human beings, to follow strategies that help us pass along our genes or survive, our neural networks have created pain and distress under certain conditions. But here's the thing, our brains are like Velcro for negative experiences and like Teflon for positive ones, right? That's why those ads of fear are so prevalent, because the ad makers know that we glom onto fear because our survival at one time demanded it. Positive information, lovely, that's nice. It takes several positive encounters to overcome a negative encounter. We developed a wary nature around existential threats, and negative events have more impact than positive ones. This is not surprising. We know this. You've got dragons. You know it. The dragons, I think, are the echoes of negative experiences. I think the dragons in the book are about anxieties that we have. But it doesn't change the outcome of the election for me to have dragons and not be able to sleep at night, right? Doesn't change it. So what do we do when we are in this moment of existential crisis? I think we are civically in a moment of existential crisis, and certainly in the moment to decide. I'll bet for all of you who raised your hands that have already voted, and who's going to vote on Tuesday? Oh, you like to vote on the day. Yeah, that's good. I'll bet I could predict with pretty good accuracy how I think you're going to vote. It is no surprise how I've voted. And we're not in control. We are a small and mighty and passionate group. And if we could set the agenda for the entire country, boy, it would be fine. Everything would be great. Wait till the annual meeting. It's a big agenda. But Unitarians and Universalists have engaged in these moments of civic crisis before. We are not without ancestors who give us models for how to engage. I want to talk about just a couple of them. In the Civil War, both abolitionists, in David Bumbaugh's book, Unitarian Universalism, A Narrative History, he talks about Unitarians approaching the Civil War. Both abolitionists, a lot of Unitarians were engaged in the abolitionist work, and there were a pretty good number of Unitarian merchants who relied on goods produced by the labor of enslaved people. We often want to lift up the people who were abolitionists and say, ah, yes, Unitarians, the good ones, right? But there were probably more, or at least an equal number, of socially conservative Unitarians who were the Boston merchants, relying on cheap labor. But here's an important part of the story of people who encountered this civic crisis. About 60 Unitarian ministers entered the Union Army. And the most famous Universalist in the Civil War, Clara Barton, was the so-called angel of the battlefield. She defied danger and death itself to minister to the needs of wounding and dying soldiers. Unitarians and Universalists, in the midst of the great rift, the great civil war in our country, made decisions to step forward into the fray, to face danger, or not. Whatever happens on Tuesday, there will still be a wounded world that we are called to heal. Or not. How will we, after the dust settles, and it won't have settled by Tuesday night, I'm quite sure, how will we decide how to rest, drink water, re-regulate, get some sleep, and then stand back up into the work? What will be our call next? One more story from World War II. This is from the dust jacket of the book, The Sharps War, Defying the Nazis. The Sharps War, which was written by Waitzel and Martha Sharp's grandson, Artemus Joukowsky, as a companion to the Ken Burns film of the same name. In 1939, the Reverend Waitzel Sharp, a young Unitarian minister, and his wife, Martha, a social worker, accepted a mission from the American Unitarian Association. They were to leave their home and their young children in Wellesley, Massachusetts, and travel to Prague, in Czechoslovakia, to help address the mounting refugee crisis. 17 ministers had been asked to undertake this mission, and had declined. Waitzel Sharp was the first to accept the call to volunteer in Europe. I think that piece is important. We want to always lift up the heroes, but they're heroes because they stand out from others. Armed with not much money, about $40,000, Waitzel and Martha quickly learned the art of spycraft and undertook dangerous rescue and relief missions across war-torn Europe. They saved refugees, political dissidents, and Jews on the eve of World War II. They narrowly escaped the Gestapo themselves. They came back to the United States and then went back to Europe in 1940s as representatives of the newly formed Unitarian Service Committee and continued their relief efforts in Vichy, France. It's a remarkable story of heroism and a decision to step into the fray, that we don't just let the worst happen. We have agency, and we have ancestors who give us motivation and models of how to do so. But it's hard. It's hard right here in the not knowing. We say that love is the center of all we do. I said in my newsletter column, that just feels amorphous, kind of flappy. Fine, fine, love is the center of all we do. But what's gonna happen? What's gonna happen? It'll be the worst thing in the world. And maybe so. It will certainly be bad for a lot of people before it is bad for a lot of us. That's big. It will be bad for a lot of people before it is bad for a lot of us. This is where the muscle building of opening our hearts to do what we can do pays off. That's what we're called to do. Love is at the center of all we do is not just some sweet thing. That love is fierce. It needs muscle. We talked a bit in the reading about what's the kind of future that we give to our children. What are they imagining and dreaming? And we cannot, please let us not always just look back and tell them about how it was in our day, in the glory days. We're not going back. Right? I want to lift up imagining a future from the perspective of Lauren Olamina, who is the protagonist in the speculative fiction book, The Parable of the Sower, by Octavia Butler. She's a 15-year-old black girl, and this book, A Parable of the Sower, you may know, was published in 1993, and the narrative starts in 2024. Her verses are collected in her notebook, Earthseed. There are several here, but I want to use the one that just feels so right to me. She uses the metaphor of God is change. She says, all that you touch, you change. All that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. We must imagine the future that we want, not hearkening back to what it was, but something, imagining the seeds that our children and next generations can grow with. We must be willing to be changed by what we've started. And in these tender days, let's vote, let's drive someone to the polls, let's limit our consumption of manipulative media. Let's support each other and our neighbors, all of our neighbors. Here's a way to be together. On Friday, this coming Friday, November 8th at 6:30, we'll gather in this space with our elated and broken and tender and tired hearts for a vigil for democracy. We'll have quiet time together. We'll have some candles. We'll sing some songs. We'll love up on each other and this broken world. Let's bring our fear and our hope here together, because all that you touch, you change. And all that you change changes you. The only lasting truth is change. God is change. Blessed be, and may it be so. We're going to sing together, Answering the Call of Love. It's hymn number 1014 in the Teal hymnal. And nowadays we sing Answering the Call of Love instead of Standing on the Side of Love. It's more universally accessible. Please stand as you're willing and able. Much gratitude to our musicians this morning, the Story Strings, Mary Richards and Susan Kramer, to our accompanists, Peggy Earnshaw, our music coordinator, Madison Mayfield, to our tech team, Donna Lewis and Dan Haig, to our board member, Cheryl Lawson, to our service facilitators, Sarah Carlson and Ben Willeen, to our coffee servers and treat bringers, and especially the cleanup crew. It takes so many hands to bring together a Sunday morning so we can all show up in community. Thank you all for your service. Let's extinguish our chalice and close with these words of Robin Wall Kimmerer. Even a wounded world is feeding us. Even a wounded world holds us, giving us moments of wonder and joy. I choose joy over despair, not because I have my head in the sand, but because joy is what the earth gives me daily, and I must return the gift. Blessed be, and go in peace. I'll ask us to stay seated for a moment as we hear a postlude from Story Strings.